Hi there. I'm going to make a video now to talk about the overall picture of all three companies, all three websites that represent the two companies of Safcoms and Umozris. The overall picture is an important aspect when considering everything I'm presenting here on these three websites. And primarily, it's going to look at the detail. We're going to look at the detail tonight. In actual fact of exactly what these three companies are going to become as under the umbrella of the whole picture of the reality that I'm trying to create and will be creating with these three facets of Safcoms and Umozris. The overall picture of Umozris is quite simply something that since the eon of the all, you could describe it, has been primary in my mind. It's been something I've been considering and looking at and making manifest in the reality that I live. So everything that I do is like a ritual, whereby everything I put into computers, even right back in 2011, when I was sort of configuring a way of amassing the creative reality that I'd bestowed upon the earth and spread out across the whole earth. So ultimately what it was a way of regrouping this creative mass and turning it into something that is architecturally designed. Now, when you're designing a megacity, which Umozris is, I mean, take it as facts, Umozris is not just a megacity, it's a megacity with a platform that goes well beyond the city, and even within the city there will be rainforests. I mean, it is that huge. It is the most awesome structure you will ever see on this planet, and it has taken an absolute mass of density of work in the configuration of what I'm trying to create. So it's not just creating the productive seed and producing the reality in the universal ether, like the Allah, the Nicholas side of the reality that I've been through. That was a long process. That was a 10-year process with about a grouping to at least 2,000 or 3,000 quartiers in the whole reality of the platform when it's all regrouped, which it has been over the last 10 years. So during the last 10 years or so, I've been regrouping and pulling that whole reality to this location in Gloucestershire, and have now sealed it in location with the IPv6 system through a hexadecimal network that pins the whole structure to the platform. And some of you may have been interfacing with the Lifebook and have seen what the platform is made up of before it actually becomes manifest. So at least we know that the universal reality is in the location where we live. So that is all being pinned by the IPv6 network, which I explain on the CDAC video further down on this page. But the reality of Umozris, get it out of your mind that this is just some minister sitting on top of a hill that everyone can marvel at from miles around. This is something much, much bigger. This is a megacity with a realm that goes way beyond the imagination. Possibly being able to see the mountains right in the distance that go around the whole thing, which will be truly vast. And we're talking, some of the mountains will probably be bigger than Everest. There'll be stuff for pioneers to do. There'll be so much exploration within our own zone, let alone just the simple ski resorts that will be set up in the mountains. That'll be piecemeal, that'll be something. It's more about the pioneer. It's more about the explorator. People are prepared to look into the reality of what we've got here and tackle it and start to explore it and make it a zone that is a massive playground and a massive area to do work in, to set up businesses in the mountains and in Walls 1 as well, which are that go around the city to keep the pleroma within the city and the density of the tax bias outside, so that inside it is it's a means-tested tax haven that's going to enable people to have as many opportunities as possible, whatever walk of life they come from, whether they're being trained at the academy, whether they're just happy, configuring small things in their home or office, or doing a small grassroots business that's giving them occupation. Everyone will be occupied. Everyone will have a job. But that aside, the whole reality, that's the Sierra aspect of it, the whole education and jobs attribution program. And actually, while I'm on this subject, before I go back to talking about your modules, while I'm on this subject, in business, in the traditional terms on the earth, the reason this is an amnesty from the earth to the reality of what's going on in the universal dimensions is because when you make it in business, you get to the top of a company on the earth, you tend to go across horizontally to the next level or even up to a higher level at a different company. That is not the way Umozis works. That is not the way Sierra works. The way it works is if you change business, you go right down to the bottom. And if you've proven your worth in the other business and you've proven you are connected to this business and you have something to offer and something to take it to the legal organizational direction, then again, you will rise. But it gives people the other opportunities to go from the bottom of one business which isn't working for them, and possibly because of certain skills or their ability to make things happen in the legal organizational direction, they will go to the top. That is why it's a means-tested tax haven. You're not always getting a large amount of readies coming in for the work that you're doing. Sometimes you have to tackle projects and put your real depth into practice. Prove that you've got the depth. You're not just someone who's able to do one thing and can't do a multitude of tasks and doesn't have the aptitude to learn new skills. This is a whole abilifying of everyone's depth in the location of this community. Everyone who has moved has transferred their talents to a different company. They will find that they will start to change the level that they come in at simply because they don't know that much about that company. There may be a manager in a different company, but managing this company may be something totally different. So that's just a by the by comment on the way the business structure works and the way people get retrained and transfer their skills across to other companies. Okay, so because of the way the CADSA works, the Knowledge Acquiescence Database Senior, everyone will be being analysed and checked on their CADSA to make sure they're amplifying their potential and getting the best results possible for the process of building up their business attributes, their skills, and their contribution to the network and the platform. And if the CADSA acknowledges the fact that you deserve more acknowledgement or you need to start and learn some new skills, then in either situation, if you require more acknowledgement, you go up a level when you change company. If you require to learn more skills, you go down a level. And if you can still prove your worth and prove that you have the density and the inner core to drive yourself to the optimum, to the best potential, then you will rise. And likewise, people who go up a level, sometimes they may find they just level out, they don't carry on rising, but they may suddenly find that they find their niche and they feel comfortable in a different company. This is possibly how it's going to work. There are many different levels people can go in at, or come back at, or join new companies at, or whatever it may be. But that's just a by-the-by statement on the Sierra process of how people are going to train through the businesses that they operate in and how they operate, changing companies and receiving the acknowledgement that they require, or putting in the work that they need to do to become a contributor again. So that's just a little bit about that. But moving back to Umozis, this is a megacity. Like I said, there will be rainforests with animals and species that will be unheard of almost on this planet. Species of plants, species of animals, universal dimensions will be here. We talk about the glut of the planet, the greed of the West and everything else. And I've talked in other videos about saying that the universal realms will take care of the green issues. We don't have to hammer it so hard that we absolutely stagnate progress on the planet. The whole purpose of having universal dimensions is that we can let these spiritual things, the safety and security of the planet, the survival of certain species on the planet, everything that we're trying to achieve for the grassroots reality, which is, as much a city for the people as it is for the countryside and the landscape. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is, make an ark that can save the planet. We're going to have rainforests, not just outside the city, but there'll be rainforests within the city, a giant megastructure that will have as much space as we need to make sure this planet survives. And if our platform alone is not enough to do that for the planet, then there'll be maybe 50 other platforms across Europe and across the rest of the world, maybe in Asia, maybe in South America, maybe in parts of America will be involved in like a different program, which is more to do with the business model and the universal reform program, which is all being implemented in duality to the reality of osmosis that happens in the United States. But the reality of the whole program, there'll be plenty to make sure this planet is burgeoning with life. And really, all the problems of the past will be turned into something positive. People who worry about the negativity of plastic in the oceans and all this sort of thing, we're going to find ways through universal technologies that will destroy this problem. It'll take this problem and turn it into something completely positive and make it a better reality for everyone. The reality of space TM is also, like as I said in Technologies of Ina, if you look at Technologies of Ina on the Umozis site, on this site, you'll see that I've talked about how space TM is messianic in its capabilities. It transfers the light web in all the plurimatic zones where the universal realities are starting to form and starting to take shape. And it's not only a communications infrastructure, but it's also a way of building up the Pleroma so that the grassroots and the Christian AI and all the network that is going to create this technology, this reality that I've synthesized and hammered through this endless architectural design to begin with, and then moving into the configuration side and the syncquation side, which is the automation of the configuration. And there is so much going on in the cyber world, in the network that I've created, that the reality of creating the whole platform and letting Space TM just messianically direct the reality and how the Pleroma is going to take shape, maybe assisted unseen by hosts from outside, and also through the IPv6 system, which will pin in the network and enable the lifeboat to channel the light that has been lost to the rest of the Earth back into the system, and to get people coming into the system from outside the zone, so people who feel local, feel somehow connected to the community here and feel part of it. Already Stroud is the most sought after destination in the whole of the British Isles for British people to come and live. This is taking off big time. People are getting the vibe now. It's going to happen, and we're going to absolutely make sure that this area of the world is going to look after the planet, and it's going to be absolutely huge. It's going to do everything it needs to make the reality perfect for the people who live here and to make it profitable on the global stage, and to bring back profit for ourselves and the rest of the world. So there'll be so much positivity from this, and ultimately deal with the climate change as a mere piffle. It's something that is negligibly a force that is a negative force on the Earth. We're gonna get rid of the climate change and all the green issues, and farm our electricity all over the planet that we generate through the Yesu and the LEM's technology. The travel transfer operation will generate a vast amount of electricity just in our platform. But ultimately, we'll be able to shut off the national grid and farm our electricity all over the world, so that we can actually amplify the power that people are using and enable people to have as much and as plenty as they require. So that's the purpose of Ina. Maybe at some point I was drawing the Pleroma back in, but at times when I was doing this, the Pleroma in creation was staying in the outer zones and long enough in order for people to create money from it. They created jobs, they created infrastructure, they created innovation. People got the work ethic. Everyone got a feel for the reality of what was actually going to come and how the reality was going to happen in heaven, which is why it's an easy stage to transfer to the universal reality and create it as some kind of amnesty from the global infrastructure which is a basic description over the last 20 years or so before the manifestation of the platform. It's a basic description of how the universal realms are going to work, and people are getting a feel of it in global reality. And the people who feel more akin to that in the global reality, surely, of course, in the local community, of course, and that's why people are starting to move here. But in the global reality, people are feeling akin to that, and they are the people who are the locals. They're already in touch with the universal realities, and it's only natural for them to come and go where the pleroma that had been loaned to the rest of the planet eventually comes back to, and they follow suit and come here to either be ambassadors or to retrain and reset themselves and join the community of Ina and become located here as citizens among us. Thanks very much for listening. Okay, goodbye.